The research station orbiting Nexus 9 was hailed as a groundbreaking achievement in interspecies collaboration, a beacon of unity among various alien races. At least, that was the narrative peddled by its architects and ambassadors. In truth, it was more akin to an outpost where species observed one another under the guise of scientific inquiry, their interactions tinged with thinly veiled suspicion and cautious curiosity. The station's gleaming hallways curved like ribbons of polished metal, bathed in soft blue lighting that lent an ethereal glow to every corner. It was here, amidst this otherworldly ambience, that Sophia found herself pacing nervously outside the docking bay. Her tight-fitting black leather suit, adorned with glowing blue inserts that pulsed faintly with her elevated heart rate, seemed less professional attire and more a reflection of her inner turmoil. Sophia was no stranger to the mysteries of reproduction across species. As the station's lead xenobiologist specializing in reproductive behaviors, she had spent years immersed in the study of countless alien races. Yet humans, with their enigmatic physiology, remained a puzzle, one she was determined to solve. "Calm yourself," she muttered, running slender purple fingers through her long silvery white hair. "He's just another research subject." But even as she spoke the words, she couldn't silence the flutter of anticipation in her chest. The station's AI chimed overhead, breaking her reverie. "Attention, human diplomatic vessel Relentless has completed docking procedures. Passenger disembarking in 3 minutes." Sophia took a deep breath, steeling herself for the encounter. This wasn't just any meeting, it was her first direct contact with a human male, and she had spent weeks preparing for it. Her research into human physiology had yielded fascinating insights but also left her with more questions than answers. Their reproductive capabilities defied everything she knew about biological norms. How could they sustain such activity without significant physical consequences? The airlock hissed open, and Captain Robert stepped through, his towering frame accentuated by a dark gray armored suit with glowing blue accents on the shoulders and back. His bare arms revealed tanned skin stretched over defined muscles, practical for combat yet undeniably appealing in a primal way she hadn't anticipated. "Doctor," Robert's deep voice resonated, catching her off guard with its warmth. "I'm Captain Robert, Earth Diplomatic Corps. I understand you requested my presence specifically." Sophia extended her hand in the human greeting she'd practiced diligently. "Captain Robert, thank you for agreeing to this consultation," she said, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of thoughts racing through her mind. His grip was firm but careful, as if he were acutely aware of his own strength. "Happy to help advance interspecies understanding," he replied, his tone light but sincere. "Though I admit, your request was unusually specific." "Indeed," Sophia gestured toward the corridor. "Perhaps we should continue this conversation in my laboratory." As they walked, Sophia stole glances at the human beside her. His gait was confident, almost predatory, yet he moved with surprising grace for someone of his size. "Your station is impressive, Robert," she commented, breaking the silence. "We have similar research facilities in the Sol system, but nothing quite so diverse. Nexus 9 sits at the crossroads of 17 different species trade routes," Sophia explained, grateful for the neutral topic. "It makes for an ideal location to study comparative biology." Upon reaching her laboratory, a spacious room filled with holographic displays and specimen containers, they were greeted by a massive screen displaying human anatomical charts. Robert raised an eyebrow. "I see you've been doing your homework." "Of course," Sophia replied, activating the lab's privacy protocols with a wave of her hand. "I always prepare thoroughly before meeting a new species. And yet, you requested me specifically rather than just reviewing the data we've already shared." Sophia felt her cheeks darken slightly beneath her purple skin. "The data has inconsistencies that I find difficult to reconcile," she admitted, turning to face him directly. Professional curiosity overrode her initial nervousness. "According to your medical records, human males are capable of mating every day of your calendar year, that's 365 consecutive days." Robert's lips twitched. That's, generally accurate, yes. But that's impossible. Sophia blurted out before she could maintain her scientific detachment. No species can sustain that level of reproductive activity without significant physical damage or recovery periods. I assure you, we manage just fine, Robert replied, suppressing a smile. Sophia moved to her console and pulled up a comparative chart. Violin males require 17 days of recovery between mating attempts. Dvar need at least 4. Even the famously virile Korans need 48 hours. She gestured wildly at the display. How can your instrumental body part withstand such strain? It defies all biological laws. Robert couldn't suppress his laughter any longer. I'm sorry, Dr. Sophia, but are you asking how human men can have sex every day without breaking our tools? Yes, she leaned forward, her scientific curiosity overwhelming any sense of propriety. Is it some form of rapid cellular regeneration? A specialized endoskeletal structure? Some kind of natural lubricant? Robert's shoulders shook with barely contained amusement. Nothing so exotic, I'm afraid. We're just, built differently. That's not a scientific explanation. Sophia crossed her arms, her miniskirt riding up slightly with the motion. I need data, Captain. Empirical evidence. And how exactly do you propose to gather this evidence? His tone remained light, but his eyes held a challenge. Sophia straightened her posture, making a decision. Through direct observation and controlled experimentation, of course. I am a scientist after all. Of course, Robert echoed, his smile widening. All in the name of science. Sophia tapped her console again, bringing up a new form. I'll need you to sign these consent documents. My research requires thorough documentation. As Robert reached for the stylist, the station's alarm suddenly blared to life. Warning, unidentified vessels approaching. All personnel to emergency stations. Robert's playful demeanor vanished instantly, replaced by the focused alertness of a trained soldier. What's happening? Sophia accessed the external cameras. Raiders. They've been targeting research stations for technology and specimens. Her voice dropped. This is the third attack this month. I need to get to my ship, Robert said, already moving toward the door. Wait, Sophia grabbed his arm. The docking bay is on the other side of the station. You'll never make it before they breach. Their eyes met, the flirtation of moments ago replaced by the sudden reality of danger. Then it seems our research will have to wait, Doctor, Robert said grimly. Right now, we need to focus on survival. The emergency protocols activated around them. The laboratory doors sealed with a heavy thud, reinforced barriers sliding into place. This section will automatically lock down, Sophia said, her fingers flying across the control panel. Robert moved to the window, assessing the situation. 3 sleek, predatory vessels were approaching the station, their weapon systems clearly visible even at a distance. Tannian raiders, he muttered. I've encountered them before. They're after technology and valuable specimens, like you. Sophia looked at him sharply. You think they're after Nexians? Rare species with neural pathways compatible with certain technologies, she explained quietly. Our capture isn't uncommon. Robert turned to her, his expression hardening. Then we fight. Sophia moved to a hidden panel in the wall, revealing an array of defensive equipment. Standard research station issue, she said, handing him a compact energy weapon. You know how to use this? Robert examined it briefly before nodding. Similar enough to our models. He positioned himself near the door, establishing a defensive position. We should be able to hold the section if they make it this far. Sophia activated a series of monitors showing different sections of the station. The security team was mobilizing but understaffed due to budget cuts, she noted with a grimace. For several minutes, they watched in tense silence as the station's minimal defenses engaged the raiders. Occasional shudders ran through the structure as impacts registered. "Your research," Robert said suddenly, breaking the silence. "Is it really just academic curiosity?" Sophia's large green eyes met his. "What else would it be?" Most xenobiologists focus on disease prevention or genetic compatibility. Not many are specifically interested in endurance capabilities. A darker purple blush crept up her neck. Reproductive strategies reveal much about evolutionary history and cultural development. Humans interest me particularly, you're an anomaly. She gestured vaguely at him. Most species have clear biological limitations that shape their mating behaviors and social structures. But humans. She trailed off, searching for the right words. You've somehow evolved beyond those constraints. Robert smiled. Or maybe we just approached the whole thing differently. The station rocked with another impact, more violent this time. One of the monitors showed a breach in the eastern section. "They're moving faster than I expected," Sophia said, checking the monitors. 3 sections away now. Robert moved to the weapons cache, selecting additional equipment. "We should prepare for direct confrontation." As he efficiently checked the energy levels on various devices, Sophia found herself admiring the fluid economy of his movements. There was something undeniably appealing about his calm competence in the face of danger. "You've done this before," she observed. "Diplomatic missions occasionally require more hands-on skills," he replied, handing her a small device, an emergency beacon. "If we get separated, activate it." Their fingers brushed during the exchange, and Sophia felt an electric tingle that had nothing to do with the device's power source. For a brief moment, their eyes locked, and the tension in the room shifted from fear to something else entirely. The moment was shattered by the sound of weapons fire in the adjacent corridor. "They're here," Robert said, positioning himself between Sophia and the door. "Stay behind me." "I can fight," she protested, raising her weapon. "I don't doubt it," he replied, "but if they're after Nexian specifically, we need to keep you out of sight." The door shuddered as something heavy impacted against it. The reinforced barriers held, but a dent appeared in the metal. "They're using breaching charges," Robert observed grimly. "We have maybe 2 minutes." Sophia moved to his side, ignoring his earlier directive. "Then we fight together." He glanced at her, something like respect and admiration flickering in his eyes. "Together." The next impact was stronger, the door buckling slightly at the edges. Robert adjusted his stance, weapon raised. "You know," he said conversationally, as if they weren't about to face armed raiders, "I was looking forward to your research. Seemed like it might have been educational for both of us." Sophia's lips curved into a smile despite the danger. "Perhaps we'll still get the chance if we survive this." "Oh, we'll survive," Robert said with such conviction that she almost believed him. "I haven't shown you what humans are really capable of yet." The final charge detonated, and the laboratory door blew inward in a shower of metal fragments. Through the smoke, armored figures appeared, weapons raised. Robert fired first, his aim unerringly accurate. The leading raider fell backward with a cry of surprise. Beside him, Sophia moved with unexpected grace, her weapon finding its mark as they fought side by side against the invaders. As Sophia realized that her curiosity about human capabilities was expanding far beyond reproductive biology, she marveled at Robert's precision, power, and utter fearlessness. For the first time, she wondered if her research had been a pretext all along. The firefight was intense but brief. Robert moved with practiced efficiency, each shot finding its mark as he systematically eliminated the threats entering the laboratory. Sophia fought alongside him, her movements less practiced but no less determined. When the station security forces finally arrived, they found 6 raiders unconscious or restrained, with Robert and Sophia holding defensive positions at opposite ends of the room. "Status report," demanded the security chief, a burly Devarian with mottled orange skin. "Laboratory secure," Robert replied, lowering his weapon. "But they'll send more." His words were cut off abruptly as he noticed movement in the smoke-filled doorway. A final raider, previously hidden behind debris, rose with a weapon aimed directly at Sophia. Robert's reaction was instantaneous. He lunged across the room, his body becoming a living shield as he tackled Sophia to the floor. The security team's response was equally swift, neutralizing the threat with multiple energy blasts. But not before the raider got off a shot. "Sophia." Robert's voice was sharp with concern as he felt warm liquid seeping through his armor where it had been breached at the shoulder. "I'm fine," he grunted, though his clenched jaw suggested otherwise. "Just a graze." The security chief approached, assessing the situation. "Medical bay is compromised. Raiders hit it first." "My quarters," Sophia decided. "I have supplies there. Can you secure this section?" The Devarian nodded. "We've regained control of the station's defense systems. The remaining raiders are retreating. I'll post guards at key junctions." With the security team's help, they made their way through the damaged corridors to Sophia's personal quarters. Unlike the sterile laboratory, her living space was surprisingly warm, with soft lighting and walls adorned with artifacts from various worlds. "Sit," she commanded, guiding Robert to a cushioned bench. "Let me see the wound." Robert winced as she helped remove the upper portion of his armor, revealing a nasty energy burn across his left shoulder and part of his chest. The wound wasn't life-threatening but was clearly painful. "You call this a graze?" Sophia observed, gathering medical supplies from a cabinet. "I've had worse," Robert replied, watching her movements with interest despite his discomfort. "Though I admit it stings a bit." "A bit?" Sophia raised an eyebrow, her large green eyes reflecting concern. "Human capacity for understatement is apparently as remarkable as your reproductive endurance." That drew a chuckle from him, which quickly turned into a grimace. "Careful, doctor. Laughter aggravates the wound." "Then hold still and be serious," she instructed, applying a cooling gel to the burned area. Her purple fingers worked with gentle precision, spreading the medication across his skin. Robert studied her face as she concentrated on her task. The clinical detachment she'd shown in the laboratory had given way to something more personal, genuine concern, perhaps even tenderness. "You're good at this," he observed. "Nexian neural sensitivity gives us an advantage in medical applications," she explained. "We can detect pain responses more accurately than most species." "Is that why the raiders want your people?" Sophia's hands paused momentarily. "Partly. Our neural pathways can be harvested for certain technologies." She resumed her ministrations, applying a translucent bandage over the wound. "It's not a pleasant process for the donor." Robert's jaw tightened. "Then I'm glad we stopped them." "You stopped them," she corrected, her eyes meeting his. "And took a blast meant for me." "Instinct," he said simply. "Human instinct is to protect others at personal risk, sometimes." His eyes held hers. "Especially when it's someone worth protecting." The air between them seemed to charge with unspoken tension. Sophia became acutely aware of their proximity, of her hands still resting on his bare chest, of the steady rhythm of his heartbeat beneath her fingertips. "Your heart rate is elevated," she observed, her voice softer than she intended. "Is that your professional assessment, doctor?" There was a warmth in his eyes that had nothing to do with his injury. Merely an observation. She should have moved away, should have maintained professional distance, but found herself unwilling to break contact. "Does it hurt anywhere else?" "Just the shoulder," he replied, though his eyes suggested his discomfort might have other sources as well. Sophia reached for a small device on her medical tray. "This will help with the pain and accelerate healing. It's calibrated for Nexian physiology but should be compatible with humans." "Should it be?" Robert raised an eyebrow. Your species is remarkably adaptable, she said, a hint of her earlier scientific curiosity returning. Another fascinating evolutionary trait. She placed the device against his skin near the wound. It hummed softly, emitting a pale blue light that spread across the injured area. That feels interesting, Robert commented. Warm but not unpleasant. The sensation will intensify, she warned. Some find it overwhelming. As if on cue, Robert inhaled sharply, his muscles tensing. Sophia placed a steadying hand on his uninjured shoulder. Breathe through it, she instructed. The neural stimulation accelerated cell regeneration but could trigger sensory responses. Robert nodded, focusing on his breathing as the device continued its work. Under her hand, Sophia could feel the power in his shoulder, the controlled strength as he managed the discomfort without complaint. You're handling this better than most, she noted with approval. Even Devarians usually require sedation. Human pain tolerance, Robert managed through clenched teeth. Another area where we excel. The device completed its cycle and powered down. Robert relaxed visibly, exhaling slowly. Better? Sophia asked, removing the device. Much, he rotated his shoulder experimentally. Remarkable technology. The wound will still need time to fully heal, though, she cautioned. No strenuous activity for at least 12 hours. A smile played at the corners of his mouth. Define strenuous. The question hung in the air between them, laden with implication. Sophia found herself responding to his smile with one of her own. I believe that would fall under the category of my research interests, she replied, her voice taking on a teasing quality that surprised even her. Ah, yes, Robert's eyes held a challenge. Your study of human endurance. On the contrary, Sophia's fingers traced the edge of the bandage, feeling his skin warm beneath her touch. I believe I'm gathering valuable data even now. Accelerated healing, pain management. Her hand moved slightly, resting over his heart. Physiological responses to stimulus. Robert covered her hand with his own, his touch sending an unexpected shiver through her body. And what are your preliminary findings, Doctor? Inconclusive, she murmured. I believe I need more extensive observations. The station's communication system crackled to life, interrupting the moment. Dr. Sophia, please report to the command center. Damage assessment required. Sophia sighed reluctantly, withdrawing her hand. It seems my research must wait a little longer. Robert caught her wrist gently before she could move away. Science requires patience, he said, his voice low. And thorough investigation. Indeed it does, she agreed, feeling a warmth spread through her that had nothing to do with the station's environmental controls. And I intend to be very thorough. The station hummed with activity as repair crews worked to restore damaged systems. 3 days had passed since the raider attack, and while the immediate danger had subsided, the aftermath kept everyone busy. Sophia wiped sweat from her brow as she finished recalibrating the environmental controls in Sector 7. The attack had damaged several key systems, and as one of the few specialists with knowledge of the station's neural interfaces, she'd been working almost non-stop. Dr. Sophia, the station's communication system crackled. Commander Hulk requests your presence in the command center. Acknowledged, she replied, gathering her tools. On my way. As she made her way through the corridors, Sophia found her thoughts drifting to Robert. They'd seen little of each other since the attack, both pulled in different directions by the station's recovery efforts. He'd been assisting with security protocols, using his Earth Diplomatic Corps training to strengthen the station's defenses against future attacks. Their brief encounters had been professional but charged with unspoken tension, meaningful glances exchanged across crowded rooms, fingertips brushing accidentally when passing tools or data pads. The command center was less chaotic than it had been immediately after the attack, though several workstations still showed damage. Commander Hulk, a stern-faced Quran with rigid blue skin, stood at the central console with Robert. Dr. Sophia, Hulk acknowledged her arrival with a curt nod. Captain Robert has completed the security assessment. The raiders specifically targeted your research data. Sophia's eyes widened. My xenobiological studies? Why would they want that? Not all of it, Robert clarified. Just your files on human physiology and reproductive biology. That makes no sense, Sophia protested. That research is preliminary at best. I've barely begun. She stopped suddenly, aware of the implications. Commander Hulk's expression remained impassive. Whatever your findings, someone considers them valuable. Until we determine who and why, I'm assigning Captain Robert as your personal security detail. Is that really necessary? Sophia asked, though the flutter in her stomach suggested she wasn't entirely opposed to the idea. The raiders will return, Hulk stated flatly. And next time, they'll come better prepared. Captain Robert has volunteered for this assignment. Robert's expression revealed nothing, but Sophia caught the slight quirk at the corner of his mouth. Very well, she conceded. Though I don't see how my research could possibly warrant such attention. That's what we need to find out, Robert said. I suggest we review your data together, see if there's something you've overlooked. Commander Hulk nodded in approval. Begin immediately. The station repairs are nearly complete, but I want answers before the raiders return. As they left the command center, Sophia felt a curious mix of professional concern and personal anticipation. The corridor was empty as they walked toward her laboratory. You volunteered for this assignment? She asked, breaking the silence. Robert's smile was subtle but unmistakable. I have a vested interest in your research, Doctor. After all, I am your primary subject. A subject I barely had the opportunity to study, she pointed out, matching his playful tone. A situation we should remedy, don't you think? For security purposes, of course. They reached her laboratory, now restored to order after the firefight. The door sealed behind them with a reassuring hiss. Computer, Privacy Protocol Alpha, Sophia commanded. The lights dimmed slightly, and a soft hum indicated that the room's security measures were active. Robert raised an eyebrow. Standard research procedure for sensitive investigations, she replied, moving to her console. Now let's see what the raiders found so interesting. They spent the next hour reviewing her research files, finding nothing that seemed particularly valuable to outsiders. Her notes on human reproductive capabilities were scientific but limited, based mostly on medical literature rather than direct observation. This can't be what they were after, Sophia said, frustrated. There's nothing here that isn't available in basic xenobiology texts. Robert leaned against the console, his proximity sending a wave of awareness through her. Perhaps they weren't interested in what you've already discovered but in what you might discover. What do you mean? Human-Nexian compatibility studies, he suggested. Our species have similar enough biochemistry that certain interactions might be possible. Sophia's skin darkened with a blush. You mean reproduction? Among other things, his voice had dropped to a lower register, sending a pleasant shiver down her spine. That's highly speculative, she said, though her scientific mind was already racing with possibilities. Such compatibility would be extremely rare but potentially valuable. Josh pointed out, especially if someone wanted to exploit it. Sophia considered this, her fingers absently tracing patterns on the console. It would require extensive testing to determine if such compatibility exists. I believe you mentioned having protocols for such testing, Robert reminded her, his eyes holding hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. Yes, she admitted, though they're rather intimate protocols. I'm willing to participate, he offered, moving closer. In the name of science, of course. Of course, she echoed, suddenly very aware of his physical presence. Though my quarters would provide a more appropriate setting for such delicate research. Robert's smile deepened. Lead the way, Doctor. The walk to her quarters seemed both endless and instantaneous. Once inside, Sophia activated the privacy protocols automatically. Her scientific demeanor rapidly gave way to something more primal. "I should warn you," she said as Robert moved toward her. "Nexian nervous systems are significantly more sensitive than most species. Our sensory experiences are intensified." "Is that a warning or an invitation?" Robert asked, his hand gently brushing a strand of silvery hair from her face. "Both," she admitted. "My research suggests humans have remarkable stamina, but Nexian responses might be overwhelming for the unprepared." Robert's laugh was warm and rich. "I think you'll find humans are quite adaptable, Doctor. And I'm very interested in testing your hypothesis about our endurance." His fingers traced the line of her jaw, sending cascades of sensation through her neural pathways. Sophia gasped at the intensity, her large green eyes widening. "Fascinating response," Robert murmured, clearly pleased with her reaction. "I believe this calls for thorough investigation." "I agree," Sophia managed, her scientific curiosity now completely intertwined with desire. "Though I should note for the record that this represents a significant departure from standard research protocols." "Sometimes," Robert said, drawing her closer, "the most valuable discoveries come from breaking protocol." As his lips met hers, Sophia's last coherent thought was that human adaptability was indeed a remarkable evolutionary trait, and that she was suddenly very eager to explore it in depth. 6 weeks passed in what felt like both an instant and an eternity. The station had returned to normal operations, with enhanced security protocols implemented under Robert's supervision. The threat of another raider attack lingered, but daily routines had resumed. For Sophia and Robert, those weeks had been transformative. What had begun as scientific research had evolved into something neither had anticipated. Their nights were filled with intimate exploration, their days with meaningful glances and stolen moments between duties. Sophia's quarters had become their sanctuary, a place where species differences melted away in the heat of mutual discovery. Her initial scientific curiosity about human stamina had been thoroughly satisfied, and then some. Robert had proven that human males were indeed capable of remarkable feats of endurance, much to her continued amazement. "I still don't understand how your physiology manages it," Sophia mused one morning as they shared breakfast. 6 weeks of nearly daily research sessions, and not a sign of strain or fatigue. Robert grinned over his coffee cup. "Maybe it's not just physiology. Maybe it's motivation." "Are you suggesting my scientific methods are particularly inspiring?" she teased, her large green eyes sparkling. "I'm suggesting that with the right partner, humans can accomplish extraordinary things." His gaze was warm, holding something deeper than mere physical attraction. Sophia felt a flutter in her chest that had become increasingly familiar. Their relationship had long since transcended the boundaries of her original study. The data she collected now was personal, emotional, and far more valuable than any scientific paper could capture. "I've been meaning to ask," Robert said, changing the subject. "Have you experienced any unusual symptoms lately? You seemed dizzy yesterday in the lab." Sophia hesitated. She had been experiencing odd sensations, brief waves of nausea, unexpected fatigue, heightened sensitivity even by Nexian standards, but had attributed them to the intensity of their relationship and her irregular work schedule. "Nothing significant," she replied, though uncertainty crept into her voice. "Perhaps a slight imbalance in my neural chemistry. It happens occasionally when Nexians experience intense sensory input over prolonged periods." Robert's expression turned concerned. "Should you see the medical officer?" "It's not necessary. I can run some diagnostics myself," she smiled reassuringly. "My body is simply adjusting to our research protocol." Later that day, in her laboratory, Sophia found herself alone with her thoughts and her symptoms. The dizziness had returned, accompanied by a strange fluttering sensation in her abdomen that she couldn't explain. Curiosity and a touch of concern finally prompted her to run a comprehensive bioscan. She programmed the medical scanner for Nexian physiology and stepped into the chamber. Blue light washed over her as the device hummed softly, analyzing every aspect of her biological functions. When the results appeared on the screen, Sophia stared in disbelief. "This can't be right," she whispered, running the scan again. The results remained unchanged. According to every parameter, she was pregnant. "Impossible," she muttered, fingers flying across the console as she checked for equipment malfunctions. Finding none, she expanded the analysis to examine the embryonic DNA. The results were unequivocal, a hybrid genetic structure combining Nexian and human DNA in a configuration that should have been biologically impossible. Sophia sank into her chair, her mind racing. Cross-species reproduction was extremely rare in the known galaxy and typically required extensive genetic engineering. Natural conception between different species was considered impossible due to fundamental incompatibilities in genetic structures. Yet the evidence before her defied all established xenobiological principles. The laboratory door slid open as Robert entered. "Commander Hulk wants an update on," he stopped, noticing her expression. "What's wrong?" Sophia looked up, still processing the implications of her discovery. "I found something unexpected in my research." "The Raiders?" "No, nothing like that," she took a deep breath. "It's about us. About our compatibility." Robert's expression shifted from concern to curiosity. "What about it?" "According to everything we know about interspecies biology, humans and Nexians shouldn't be able to reproduce naturally," she gestured to the screen. And yet, Robert followed her gaze, his eyes widening as he interpreted the data. "You're pregnant, with our child." Sophia nodded, watching his reaction carefully. "A hybrid. Something that shouldn't be possible without advanced genetic manipulation." For a moment, Robert was silent, processing this revelation. Then, to her surprise, a slow smile spread across his face. "Well," he said finally, "I guess humans really are full of surprises." His reaction wasn't what she'd expected. "You're not concerned?" "This defies everything we understand about cross-species biology." Robert moved to her side, taking her hand. "I'm surprised, certainly, but concerned? No." His thumb traced circles on her purple skin. "Though I am curious about how this happened." "As am I." Sophia's scientific mind was already formulating theories. "Perhaps there's something unique about human reproductive cells that allows them to adapt to non-human genetic structures. Or maybe Nexian DNA is more flexible than we realized. Or maybe," Robert suggested softly, "we're just compatible in ways science hasn't explained yet." The tenderness in his voice made her heart race. This wasn't just scientific curiosity anymore, it was something far more profound. "The Raiders," she said suddenly, the pieces falling into place. "They must have known this was possible. That's why they targeted my research." Robert's expression hardened. "If they knew about human-Nexian compatibility, they might have been planning to exploit it somehow. But how could they have known when we didn't?" Sophia wondered. "This discovery changes everything we understand about interspecies reproduction, which makes it incredibly valuable. And potentially dangerous in the wrong hands," Robert pointed out. Sophia placed a protective hand over her abdomen, feeling a surge of fierce determination. "We need to understand how this happened, and we need to keep it secret until we do." Robert nodded, his hand joining hers. "Agreed. This stays between us, for now." As they stood together, contemplating the miracle growing within her, Sophia realized that her original research question had led to an answer far more profound than she could have imagined. Human males weren't just capable of daily mating without physical consequences, they were capable of creating life where none should be possible. "I should update my research notes," she said with a small smile. "Human reproductive capabilities are even more remarkable than I thought." Robert laughed softly, pulling her close. "Just wait until you see what we humans call paternal instincts. Your research is about to get a lot more interesting. The key to their compatibility lay in the telomeres, Sophia explained, gesturing to the holographic display hovering between them. The laboratory was empty except for the two of them, the privacy protocols ensuring their research remained confidential. Robert leaned closer, studying the intricate double helix structures rotating slowly in the air. "I'm not a geneticist," he said. "What am I looking at?" "These are the protective caps at the end of chromosomes," Sophia explained, her excitement evident in her voice. "In most species, they shorten with age and cellular division. But human telomeres," she highlighted a section of the DNA strand. "They have unique regenerative properties, especially in reproductive cells." "And that explains how we're compatible?" Robert asked, glancing at Sophia's midsection. Though only 3 months along, a small bump was now visible beneath her modified uniform. "Partially," she nodded. "Human reproductive cells have an extraordinary ability to adapt to foreign genetic structures. It's as if they're programmed to find compatibility where none should exist." Robert smiled. "So humans are basically the universal donors of the galaxy?" "Not quite universal," Sophia corrected, though she returned his smile. "But far more adaptable than any species we've encountered. It explains not only our compatibility but also your remarkable stamina." Back to your original research question," Robert teased, moving behind her to wrap his arms around her waist, his hands resting gently on her growing belly. "Indeed," Sophia leaned back against him, savoring his warmth. "Human males can maintain daily reproductive activity because your cells regenerate at an accelerated rate compared to other species. Your tool, which quite frankly I once called it, literally repairs itself continuously. And this adaptability extends to cross-species reproduction." Robert mused, his voice softening. "Creating something that should be impossible." Sophia placed her hands over his. "The impossible seems to be a human specialty." They stood in comfortable silence, contemplating the miracle growing within her. The past 2 months had been filled with secret research, quiet preparations, and deepening emotions. What had begun as scientific curiosity had blossomed into something neither had expected, a profound connection that transcended both physical attraction and cultural differences. "I've been thinking," Robert said finally, "about what happens next." Sophia turned in his arms to face him. "You mean after the birth?" Before that, his expression was serious now. "My assignment here was temporary. The Earth Diplomatic Corps will expect me to return eventually." A cold knot formed in Sophia's stomach. They had been so focused on understanding their unique compatibility and preparing for their child that they had avoided discussing the future. "When?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "The original mission was 6 months. I've been here for nearly 5. His hands moved to cup her face. "But I'm not leaving you, Sophia. Not you, not our child." Relief flooded through her. "What are you proposing?" "I've been communicating with my superiors, laying the groundwork. I've told them I've made a significant discovery regarding human-alien compatibility that requires further research." "You told them about the pregnancy?" Alarm tinged her voice. "No," he assured her. "Just that I've found evidence of unique genetic compatibility that could revolutionize interspecies relations. I've requested an extended assignment to continue the research." Sophia's scientific mind immediately grasped the implications. "That's not untrue." "No, it's not," Robert confirmed. "In fact, I'd say we're conducting the most important xenobiological research in the galaxy right now." "And your superiors agreed to the extension?" "They're considering it. But there's more." He took a deep breath. "I've also applied for permission to establish a permanent diplomatic presence here, with me as the representative." Sophia's eyes widened. "You want to stay permanently?" "I want to be with you," he said simply. "Both of you. And I think our discovery could be the foundation for something important, a new understanding between our species. The implications were enormous. If human-Nexian compatibility was possible, it could fundamentally alter interspecies relations throughout the galaxy. Their child would be living proof that the boundaries between species were more permeable than anyone had believed. We would need to go public with our research eventually, Sophia said thoughtfully. Our relationship. When we're ready. When it's safe for all of us, Robert agreed. The memory of the Raider attack lingered. If their enemies had suspected human-Nexian compatibility was possible, what would they do when they discovered living proof? We should prepare for opposition, Sophia cautioned. Not everyone will welcome this discovery. I know, Robert's expression hardened momentarily. But humans have a long history of fighting for their families. Another trait we're rather good at. The fierce protectiveness in his voice sent a warm shiver through Sophia. She had studied human reproductive capabilities out of scientific curiosity but had discovered something far more valuable, the depth of human emotional capacity. There's something I haven't told you, she said, taking his hand and placing it on her abdomen. Something I discovered in my latest scans. Concern flashed across Robert's face. Is everything all right? More than all right, Sophia's eyes sparkled with joy. It's twins. Robert's expression transformed from concern to wonder in an instant. Twins? As in, two babies? Yes, she laughed at his stunned reaction. A boy and a girl. Both perfectly healthy despite their impossible existence. Twin, Robert repeated, a grin spreading across his face. Double the miracle and double the proof that human males are indeed exceptionally fertile. She added with a teasing smile, my original research question has been answered rather definitively. Robert laughed, pulling her close. I think we've moved well beyond your original research parameters, Doctor. Indeed we have, she agreed, resting her head against his chest. Though I maintain that further study is warranted. I'm at your disposal, he murmured against her hair. For as long as you need. That might be a very long time, she warned him. Nexians live for centuries. Then it's fortunate that human stamina extends to more than just reproductive activities, Robert replied, his voice warm with promise. We're in this for the long haul.